Have you ever wondered how new knowledge is discovered, or how scholars find solutions to real-world problems? Ladies and gentlemen, the answer is research writing. Research writing is the systematic way of investigating a topic and presenting the findings in an organized manner. Standing before you is Sadi Okhomoditse Masele. I'm with my colleagues.
Lesedi Ngakai, Amantle Musidi. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll be taking you through a topic, which is a stage of research writing. A topic is a specific subject that the researcher chooses to study in depth. Then we have the purpose of the topic. It defines the research scope and the impact of the research. Also, it guides the research design, such as data collection and analysis. Lastly, it facilitates the communication of findings to relevant audiences.
I'll be taking you through the research problem. The research problem is an issue one encounters when conducting an inquiry. The purpose of a research problem is to enhance critical thinking. When researchers are identifying and analyzing the research problem, they think deeply, question existing knowledge, and evaluate evidence from multiple different perspectives. This process helps in logical reasoning, problem-solving skills, and the ability to make judgments based on facts rather than assumptions. Uncover unexpected nuances and avenues. A well-defined research problem often leads to new questions and new discoveries beyond the original scope of the research. To provide a true account of the research process, the research problem gives the study foundation and structure, making sure it's relevant. Moving on to the structure of the research problem, we have the background of how the research problem came to be. Then we have the research objective. This is what the research is about.
Moving on to the objectives. These are clear, concise statements of what a study aims to accomplish, functioning as actionable steps to achieve broader research goals. The purpose of objectives is to establish focus and direction. This helps the researcher to stay on track and ensures that all activities are aligned with the intended outcomes. It also guides the research design. This means it influences the choice of methodologies and approaches, specifying variables to be measured and how they will be quantified. Moving on to the characteristics of objectives. According to Margaret Hostin and Marissa McDonald, writing effective research aims and objectives involves clearly defining the overall purpose of one's research and breaking it into the SMART criteria to achieve that goal.
Moving on to the hypothesis. This document introduces the concept of a hypothesis, explaining its meaning, purpose, and structure. A hypothesis is an idea that is tested through a study. Purpose of a hypothesis. It guides the research, meaning it gives a clear focus of the research, predicts the outcomes, and also ensures testability, meaning being able to predict the research. Moving on to the structure. Firstly, ask a question, being able to identify the research. Secondly, conduct a research. Thirdly, define your variables. And lastly, collect data collection and record your findings. Moving on to the components of a research. We have two components of a research, namely independent and dependent variable. An independent variable is a variable that is changed in a research, while a dependent variable is affected by the independent variable.
A literature review is a comprehensive critical summary and evaluation of previous research on a certain topic. The purpose of literature review is that it identifies dominant points by detecting patterns, repetition, and authority in existing research. It also evaluates previous research. This means it helps justify why the research is necessary.
Lastly, we have the structure of the literature review. An abstract is a brief summary of the review. An introduction. An introduction is the first section as it stages the research. The body. The body is where a specific topic is discussed in detail. And lastly, the conclusion, where the main findings are summarized and the implications are highlighted.
I'll be taking you through the research design. Research design is a master plan specifying method for collecting and analyzing the needed information. Then we have the components of research design. First, we have the research question, which is the issue that the researcher needs to address. Then the research objectives, which are key points that need to be stated in the research. Lastly, we have the data collection strategy, which are methods used to gather information in the research. Importance of research design: it provides a framework by guiding the researcher from the beginning to the end. Also, it minimizes error and bias by data collection and analysis, hence ensuring that the findings are accurate and trusted. It guides the research process by ensuring that each step of the is connected from defining the problem to drawing conclusion. Lastly, we have the types of research design, which are descriptive research, exploratory research, and the survey research.
The discussion part of research writing dives deep into the research. It analyzes, describes their findings and their importance. The purpose of the discussion is that it assesses the outcomes and writes them in the context of research. It enables the reader to see the relationship between the components of research. Lastly, it combines all sections of research of discussion. The researcher has to condense the main points of the research. Secondly, write the outcomes in the context of research. Third, state and discuss the unanticipated outcomes. Assess the drawbacks and record the findings.
I'll be taking you through a conclusion as a stage in research writing. A conclusion consists of key elements, relevance, and contributions. The key elements of a conclusion is that it summarizes main findings concisely, it discusses implications and significance, it acknowledges study limitations.
Successfully met its objective. The literature review highlighted gaps in existing knowledge, while the research design outlined the method used for data collection and data analysis. Findings were interpreted in the discussions and practical recommendations were made, ensuring that the study effectively communicates. Research successfully met its objectives by answering the key questions.
Recommendations. Recommendations are actionable and evidence-based suggestions. The components of recommendation include defines the research question, addresses limitations and suggestions of research, suggests the areas for future research, and specify the research methods. Advantages of research recommendations. Recommendations improve decision making as they provide insights and analysis, therefore enabling informed choices. Secondly, they enhance accountability as they provide clear guidance on what needs to be done. Thirdly, they promote innovation. Recommendations can challenge conventional wisdom, therefore encouraging creative problem solving. We have limitations of recommendations in the end. Limitations include introduce bias, require context accuracy, implement challenges, and lastly, uncertainty of time. And this is our reference list. It contains the sources of relevant information we use to compile our documents.